Hello and welcome back to Tennessee Football's practice facility. I'm Ryan Sylvia. This is Noah Taylor. We're with VolReport.com on the Rivals Network, and we are progressing further and further into Georgia week. Big time matchup with number one, number two, however you want to look at it, but the two-time defending national champions coming to Neyland Stadium. So today we talked with a pair of assistant coaches, running back coach Jerry Mack and linebacker coach Brian Jean-Marie, and then a handful of players as well. So let's jump right into what we thought about what they had to say, starting with you, Noah. Jerry Mack, running backs coach, not the best week for them against Missouri. What was your takeaway from what he had to say?
Yeah, just like you said, going into that Missouri game, that was kind of the talk about Tennessee's success in the run game, how they've leaned heavily on it, showing more balance over the last few weeks. But when Tennessee's offense wasn't clicking in the passing game, you could usually count on the run game kind of taking on the load. They're carrying the load for them. That didn't happen against Missouri. And he was asked about that today. You go against a really good Missouri defense to a very elite Georgia defense this week that's also very good at stopping the run. You're at home, which helps, but Jerry Mack had a really good answer when he was asked about how do you maximize those runs, and he said, they're going to have to make the most of every opportunity. You get 3 or 4 yards, try to turn that into 5 or 6 yards, and obviously Tennessee's got the backs to do it. With what Dylan Sampson brings, Jabari Small, Jalen Wright, all bring something a little bit different. But man, they're gonna have to. Those guys are gonna have to play. Put all those into one, those differences into one, and try to find an answer. Because if Tennessee can't get its pass game going, it's gonna be a long afternoon. If its run game cannot kind of like pick up some slack there.
Another group that did not have the best performance against Missouri. You could really single out a lot of the groups, but another one that had a tough night was that linebacker core. Elijah Herring specifically, tough night for him. It showed on his PFF grade. You can take that with as much credit as you want in terms of PFF grades, but out there blew some coverages, didn't tackle well in the open field, just a rough night overall for him. Well, coach Brian Jean-Marie, he said, Elijah Herring was part of the problem, but he's not the whole problem. He says the whole defense and both linebackers on the field needed to step up throughout the game, and that just didn't happen. So it was interesting to hear him say, Elijah Herring, not the best game, but it's not like that was his fault. We need everyone else across the unit to play at a higher level, especially against this Georgia team. With Arian Carter now out for the season, it's going to take a lot more of these guys to step up. Aaron Beasley, Elijah Herring, your starters, but now in reserves, it's Caleb Perry and Jeremiah Thielander as those two main guys, and they're going to have to play increased snaps as well. So that whole unit, Keenan Peely, Arian Carter, both with long-term injuries, you've had to have guys step up that maybe you didn't imagine playing a big role this season, so that's something to look out for. Let's go to what the players had to say, though. One of them, center Cooper Mays. What are your thoughts on his comments?
Yeah, he was asked about the penalties, and that's, that was, of all the things that went wrong for Tennessee on Saturday, that was another one, and we've seen that trend on the road. You saw it at Florida, you saw it at Alabama, getting away from what works for you because you're starting drives, back 10 yards, 15 yards, 20 yards behind the line of scrimmage. And it helps this week that you're at home. Tennessee has really struggled with that, more of that on the road. And Cooper Mays obviously is a guy, I know we talked about it right before, a guy that is not really responsible for a lot of those penalties, but, was asked about it and said that they can't leave the game up in the officials' hands. And, playing at home, having the fans on your side, having it a lot quieter when you're snapping the ball certainly helps. I would expect them to clean that up this week. But again, against the Georgia team that you just can't afford to start drives back like that this week. That'll be something they'll definitely have to clean up. And like you said, not leave it into the officials' hands every drive.
You mentioned the fan base making an impact and the crowd noise making an impact in communication. Well, it's the opposite on the defensive end, of course. Defense, a lot quieter when you're on the road and you have to communicate than it is at home. Bryson Easton was asked about that dynamic, and what he had to say was that a lot of those guys in the defensive line thrive in the chaos, and they really like the crowd noise and being in the middle of that chaos. So even though it may make things harder to communicate on the defensive end when you're at home in Neyland Stadium and fans are loud, he still says it does help the team and give them an edge in a different way, which was my takeaway from what he had to say. That'll do it all from us here today in Tennessee's practice facility. We will talk to Josh Heupel for the final time ahead of this anticipated matchup on Thursday. And we also have men's basketball tonight, Lady Vols basketball in an overtime thriller against Memphis yesterday. We have coverage across all things UT athletics over at VolReport.com, so make sure you go and check it out. Links to everything you need is in the description, and thank you for watching.